Try as they might, the Pittsburgh Steelers could not screw up the game against the Detroit Lions. And in the year of our Lord, 2025, your San Francisco 49ers are going to the playoffs. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. That man is Levin Black. Levin, we're going to the playoffs, baby.
Thanks to like two of the craziest plays to make this game possible. I mean, you have the Gainwell touchdown, which is probably the touchdown of the year, I think. It's for those of you that did not see it and are old enough to remember, it is somewhat similar to the Antonio Freeman. Right. It's not quite as crazy as that, but close. And then you have that final play, which I think the refs probably got right. And I was sitting there, my wife was like, what does all this mean? I was like, well, if it's an offensive penalty, it means everything else doesn't matter. The game's over. So
I was sitting there like, how could this possibly take that long? Either it's an offensive penalty and the game is over, or it's a defensive, I was sitting there like, figure it out.
I think what they were probably doing was one, double checking with New York while stalling, but also double checking with New York to make sure there shouldn't be time left on the clock. Because the last thing they want to do is make a call that ends the game and go in and find out, no, Goff got into the end zone with 2 seconds to go and you just didn't stop it, or 1 second. They were probably double checking time as well as double checking the rule and that the game should end.
Well, the game did end. The 49ers have officially clinched a playoff spot. They themselves have begun the celebration. Kaylee from Kansas, YouTube channel member. Thank you, Kaylee. Says, I'm telling you, my birthday is Super Bowl Sunday. This is the year. My birthday is a wild card weekend, January 11. And like I said, Levin, we'll be watching a freaking playoff game.
And it's crazy. Like the road to the number one seed, there's the easy way, just win out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with that comes the potential that the game may not matter very much for Seattle. If Seattle loses to Carolina, they cannot win the division.
How about Carolina? Plucky.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing. Carolina, if they win this next week against Seattle, I mean, they are the best friend of 49ers fans because not only did they lose to the 49ers in an awful game for the 49ers to where Carolina just couldn't do anything, but they beat the Rams and they beat Seattle. So like they're the ultimate co-pilot or wingman for the 49ers season if that happens. But if that happens, the point being Seattle can't win the division. The only thing they would be playing for in the final week would be to have the 5th, 6th, or 7th seed. If they win, they would have the 5th seed in all likelihood. If they lose, they'll be the 6th or 7th. Is that worth playing for? To me, if I was coaching, it would be one of those things that my quarterback's not playing and anybody who has any kind of injury is not playing, but I will play some starters out there. As long as they don't have any injury thing to where I'm not completely giving up, but I'm protecting the key assets for the following wild card game because you're locked into wild card. To me, it's not a big enough deal to try to get to play Carolina, a team that just beat you in this scenario, to risk further injury or losing your quarterback or any of that.
I'm not even like into the point.
I know.
I'm just celebrate. Like, dude, this is ridiculous and insane. Okay. You lose Brock Purdy for half the season. You lose Kittle. You lose Bosa to a torn ACL. You lose a Warner to a dislocated ankle. Ricky Pearsall misses at 6, now going to be 7 games because he's not going to play on Monday night. Your number 1 draft pick, Michael Williams, who was stabilizing your run defense, tears his ACL. He goes down. Every other linebacker on the damn team gets hurt. Juwan Jennings is in and out of the lineup. And the Niners are not only competing for a playoff spot, they have clinched a playoff spot with multiple weeks in the season to go and control their own destiny for the number 1 seed. What is happening right now? What do I do with my hands?
As an Italian, you should never question what to do with your hands.
This is so ridiculous. What do we say after the Niners won last week? We said, hey, we play on Monday night. We get to sit and watch. And we sit and watch the Zach Ward's pass for a 2-point conversion, which was picked up by Zach Charbonnet in Seattle. They come back and win that game. You get this craziness at the end of Steelers-Lions. And how about the Lions getting offensive pass interference, twice in the last 3 plays? Like, hey, we're not to follow the rules, for God's sakes.
Crazy into that Steelers-Lions game. I mean, the Lions got to walk away feeling like there was no ability for us to do anything this year because clearly the powers that be said, we will find ways for you to lose a game. Because they've lost like 5 or 6 games that came down to the final minute.
This is the year it is. This is the craziness. It's going to get even crazier from here on out. Yeah. Jason Lewis says, let's not get our hopes up. No, let's get our hopes up, man. If we can today, let's get our hopes up.
I think we go 2 different ways about this. You said you're not even all that into the different scenarios. I've gone through every possible scenario. I know that the Niners can indeed get the number 1 seed, even if they lose to Seattle. If Seattle loses to Carolina, the Rams lose one of their last 2, and the Eagles lose one of their last 2. In that scenario, the Niners could still lose to Seattle and still get the number 1 seed because they would have beaten the Bears and have all the tie breaks. There is a scenario that if that were to happen, what you would have is the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Bears, and the Eagles all tied for the best record in the NFC.
Right.
That's something that would be unprecedented. 5 teams tying.
We are all kind of assuming the 49ers can, they control their destiny for the 1 seed, or the Seahawks, but we're just assuming that everybody wins out until that final week 18 game. It may get even crazier. I mean, if the 49ers lose on Monday, things will get crazy. Who knows? Do you think that there will be some sort of a letdown now from the Niners? Because it's all right, we know no matter what, we have clinched.
I don't think so, because they're playing for the number 1 seed. And they've also had this strategy of take it 1 game at a time, and they haven't even entertained the number 1 seed talk this week. It's been consistently shot down, so I don't see why this would change anything. You still got a long way to go. The Niners can, at this point, be the 1, 5, 6, or 7. They could still, I guess there actually is potential for them to be every single seed other than the 4 seed. They could be the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, or 7 seed. There's a lot to still be played.
And they've been pretty good at that down the stretch here of handling their business. It's all on the table for them, as they know, they seem to be aware of it. You are playing a 44-year-old grandpa. And I was listening to Dieter and Hutch talk about this, and I agree. Everybody's caught up and, oh my God, they almost beat the Seahawks. And that's true. But dude, when you watched Phillip Rivers, Phillip Rivers has the arm that everybody thinks Brock Purdy has. I mean, it is painful watching him throw.
Yeah. I think he was 2 of 10 past 10 yards, something like that. And there were multiple ducks past that point. Now, maybe he gets a little bit better, but the point being, for the Colts to win, Jonathan Taylor has to go off. If this is a Phillip Rivers goes out and throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdown game, it would be in the running for one of the most shocking performances there's ever been.
Yeah, it would be a bad loss for sure. But again, but that's what this whole season is. It's craziness. And I feel honestly, the 49ers schedule, people rip on the 49ers schedule. I think it's starting to look better and better, man.
Well, it's going to look a lot better after they have the Colts, the Bears, and the Seahawks. Those are 3 likely winning teams. I mean, the Colts win 1 more game out of their last 3. They are guaranteed to be at minimum 9-8, so a winning record. The other 2 obviously already have 10, 11 wins in Seattle and the Bears. So their schedule is going to improve immensely. If they win all 3 of those, their strength of victory ends up jumping up to It would not be in the group of leaders, but it would be in that next group. I was trying to do that math, and it was just too convoluted with the amount of games that are left and how it could swing in different directions. But currently, their strength of victory is like 0.373, which is just the winning percentage of the teams that you have beaten this year.
Right.
To give an example, the Eagles are like 0.46, which is amongst the best, which is why it's going to be hard to win tiebreakers against the Eagles. But the Niners could jump all the way up to almost 500 by beating, if the Seahawks win,
Right.
Win their game against Carolina, but then lose to the 49ers. If the Bears win their other game, but lose to the 49ers, and if the Colts lose to the 49ers and then win their last two, I mean, you're talking about 3 10-win teams there that you have beaten to finish the season.
Cinnamon Kiss, YouTube channel member, says, congratulations to my Niners for making the playoffs one game at a time. Thank you so much, Cinnamon. We appreciate the support, and I love seeing you in all the streams. That's awesome. Sourdough Sam says, are we still doing an instant reaction tomorrow? Hell yeah. Of course we're still doing an instant reaction tomorrow. Absolutely we are. There was one more question. Oh, Monitor says, are we banking on Warner to be ready for the playoffs now? I don't know about for the playoffs, but if the Niners win a playoff game or two, I think he's going to try. I don't know if he'll be able to do it. I don't know if he'll be effective if he does do it, but he's not just going to say, nope, I can't do it. There's no way in my head, if the 49ers are playing for the NFC Championship, he says, I can't even try.
I would say banking is just a step too far. I think there's a pretty good chance that he would be there for a wild card. I would say there's a better than 50-50 chance that he would be there for a divisional round game. And if you get into the NFC Championship game, I would put it at like 95% that he would be playing.
And I want to say one more thing about the 49ers schedule. You know, people are like, they beat the Panthers. Well, the Panthers beat the Bucks, and they're leading their division right now. Okay. They beat the Browns. Well, the Browns just gave the Bills everything they could handle, and Buffalo scored 23 points with the best quarterback on the planet. Okay. And the 49ers beat the Browns by multiple scores. They beat the Panthers by multiple scores. You can bang on the schedule all you want, but at some point you have to update it from what you thought it was going to be in May when it came out. And I know in May it looked soft, and I'm still not telling you they played the toughest schedule in the league, but it's been tougher than it was originally planned to be. And that's just the reality of the situation.
I mean, if the Niners were to get to the 1 seed, that would mean that they would have beaten, I want to say, 3 playoff teams outside of the division and beaten 2 other playoff teams that are in division, going 3-1 against those teams. So you're talking about 5 out of the 14 playoff teams the Niners would have beaten. Show me a resume better than that.
And it's just, this is the year. This is where we are. Like, there are no style points, man. It's just get it done. It is just survive. We see every week these teams, I can't believe this is a close game. This is unbelievable. Oh, the Bills pulled it out against the Browns. Like, yeah, that's the reality of the situation, man. The Bears.
It is a weird year. There is not a single team I would point to and go, that's one of the best teams in the NFL.
Right.
It's one of those years where it's like, okay, there's 10 teams. 10 teams you want to include in the conversation for best in the NFL. Somebody that you're thinking it should be up there for Super Bowl favorites. There's not an argument against them because there's not a strong argument for any of these teams to be better than other teams.
I think every single game is going to be a coin flip in the playoffs, which the 49ers will be in because they clinched the playoffs today. I can't say it enough. I can't say it enough. This is not a year where you go to the playoffs. It's not. There was a bloodletting. Think of where we were in the offseason. I remember doing shows this offseason saying this feels like a funeral. This year was supposed to be about the death of the Shanahan 49ers, the Shanahan 1.0 49ers, right? Hufanga's gone. We know that Armstead obviously was gone a couple of years ago. Greenlaw was gone. They were letting everybody go. They were banking on an 11-person draft class to try and make themselves competitive this year. And then you pile all the injury stuff on top of it. Like, This was not supposed to be a year you clinch a playoff spot with multiple games to go, with 3 games to go, and a number 1 seed still possible.
It's like a software update, right? So you release the version 1.0, right? We thought they were going to version 2.0, but instead they just updated the 1 and made it version 1.1. They did a software update, not a whole new thing.
Mike UA points out, and I agree, that I said at the beginning of the year, if you get 10 wins, that's going to be good enough to get to the playoffs in the NFC. How many wins do the 49ers have? 10. Are they going to the playoffs?
Yes.
I'm a genius. I think that much is clear.
Yeah, because nobody has ever said that before.
I didn't say it was revolutionary. I just made a prediction that ultimately proved true. That's all.
Well, that doesn't make you a genius now, does it?
Well, I'm a genius for many reasons. Ahead of my time, really.
Yes. Yeah.
But honestly, like in the NFC right now, who's playing better than the 49ers? The Eagles? I would say no. Maybe as good.
I mean, they've turned it around after losing three straight a couple weeks ago. But even in the game that they just won against Washington, what happened? They had multiple players get thrown out because of a brawl at the end. Why? Because they were going for 2, up 19 points late in the fourth quarter, and Sirianni wants to excuse it. That shows you what the character of that team is and why they have so many problems with outspoken players and players just being undisciplined because their own coach is not disciplined. No, you don't go for 2 when you're up 19 with like 4 minutes. I think it was like 3-4 minutes to go.
Well, not only that, but you needed the Commanders to be down to Josh Johnson at quarterback, QB3. QB3, okay? So we've seen the Eagles can take themselves out of any game. The Chicago Bears are 11-4 right now. They can beat anybody, but they can lose to anybody too. Especially Caleb Williams, like he can make some tremendous throws. That 4th down throw in the back of the end zone he made in that game against the Packers. Woo! Awesome throw. Great job. But also he can miss any throw too.
Yeah, I mean, I've debated back and forth would I rather play the Bears or the Eagles in the playoffs, and I think it has to be the Bears because it's not that I don't think the Bears are better. It's that I think it's more likely the Bears come out and just lay an egg. It's like I said a week ago. It will be Caleb Williams' first playoffs. It'll be the first playoffs for Ben Johnson as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a bunch of the players on that roster that will be in their first playoffs. Like that does matter, and it does tend to rear its head. So it's not that I think the Bears can't beat the Eagles. It's that I think the Bears are more likely to come out and lay a dud even as a home team in the playoffs.
And it's weird because even though the 49ers got a lot younger this season, in terms of playoff experience, I mean, McCaffrey, Kittle, the whole offensive line, basically, right? They have a ton of playoff experience. Obviously, the defense is a little bit younger, but
don't forget Juice.
Oh, sorry. Kyle Juszczyk. Yes, my bad. But even like
Kendrick Bourne, I mean, he has playoff experience.
Jair Brown, right? Made an interception in the Super Bowl. Lenore, obviously. So, like, they are a seasoned playoff team. I do think that is a point in their favor. Are the Packers playing better than the 49ers right now? Absolutely not. They're still adjusting to life without Micah Parsons. We don't know the health of Jordan Love. That was an ugly hit, the helmet-to-helmet shot he took today.
Yeah, it wasn't just the hit he took. It was he got hit, and clearly that probably was the initial injury, but then he got hit 3 more times on his way down before the play was over.
Oof.
You know, it was like, and they do say that makes a big difference when you get repeated hits and makes it much worse. So it would not be surprising if he is out this next week. It is a nasty injury. I think from looking at it, it's about as bad as you can get without knowing the actual results from his scan and all that. Like he got hit really hard, kind of in the side, but more kind of direct on. And then he got hit by a knee as a player was falling to the ground. He got hit by, I think, the player's cleat as he finished through. Like it wasn't just one hit.
Well, and like Nick Martin just went on IR for a concussion. Like that's scary, man. When they put you on IR because you have concussion symptoms and it's already been a week, that's a very scary situation. So we don't know the status of Jordan Love. I hope he's okay. I want him back for the playoff. Like, I'm not rooting for him to be hurt, especially with a concussion. Absolutely not. So get well, Jordan Love. But it was a scary hit for sure. Antonio says, yeah, Super Bowl run is unlikely. The NFL is the league of unlikely, especially this year with Shanahan, Purdy, and Saleh. Anything is possible. That's what I said on Friday.
I was going to say, and if you want to talk storylines, the big storyline that everybody's pushing, mostly due to the AFC, but is the changing of the guard, right? Because Mahomes is out of the playoffs. You're very likely to have Lamar out of the playoffs. The Cowboys didn't make the playoffs. Burrow didn't make the playoffs. The only one that's still there right now is basically Josh Allen. And on the NFC, you kind of have some regulars, but at the same time, like Seattle with Darnold is new. You got the Bears rising. That's new. But think about the storyline. Okay, if the Niners do make the Super Bowl, it's the changing of the guard. And here's a team that everybody counted out because they changed their guard, yet it's got some of the most familiar players there are to the Super Bowl because Shanahan and Purdy, and I would assume Fred Warner is back by then. You got Robert Saleh getting there for the second time as a defensive coordinator for the team. So it'd be like this weird thing that incorporates both storylines of the changing of the guard and, here's this old power still in the Super Bowl, but it's not really the old power because they changed so many parts.
And some people are in the chat talking about, when Warner and Bosa went down, how we said the season was over. Yeah. I said it. I was wrong. I was wrong. Like, yeah, I was wrong. I don't know if that's what you want to hear. I was wrong. I didn't think that the 49ers, with their two best defensive players out, would be able to piece it together and make the playoffs, especially with their starting quarterback in and out of the lineup. I didn't think that this was possible. That's why it's so much fun right now. This is a year none of us thought was going to go down this way. So we're on the roller coaster now. Robert Saleh said it in the beginning of the year, right? Buckle up. Well, guess what? I'm buckled. I'm here for the ride. Wherever it goes, this is all gravy to me. From here on out, it's all gravy.
Do you like gravy?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just making sure because you hate some of these staples of Thanksgiving, and that's one of them.
Mike says, good thing we can count on Levin's undying positivity.
I mean, I gave you a scenario that the Niners could still get the 1 seed even with losing to Seattle. That's positivity.
As Vish says, our negativity comes from a place of positivity.
I think my negativity comes from a place of self-protection. I'm not going to get my hopes up because I don't want to be crushed when it doesn't happen.
I can't be crushed this year. I can't be. Like, unless they're up by like 30 with 2 minutes to go and somehow blow
I was going to say, you're going to say that, but if you get into a playoff game and it's close and they end up losing the lead right at the end, you're going to feel crushed.
Maybe, but like, this is such an improbable thing. Does this sew up Coach of the Year for Kyle Shanahan? Has he won the award now that they are officially in?
No.
Why not?
Why? Well, let's see. If they lose the next 3, that would change things. If they go and the Bears get the 1 seed, it's pretty clearly going to be Ben Johnson, right? Yes and no. If the Bears get the 1 seed, I'm okay with Ben Johnson getting it. If it's the Bears are the 6th seed and the Niners are the 5 seed, they're both wild card teams, and you give it to Ben Johnson, it's like, no. But if the Bears rise all the way from out of the playoffs to the number 1 seed, I can see the argument for Ben Johnson.
Who was picking the 49ers to get to the playoffs this year? Nobody picking the take Ben Johnson 1 seed. Williams going down. Take your 2 best defensive players. Take them out for the entire year. Take your top 2 wide receivers. Take them out for huge chunks of the year. Let me see you compete. Like, Packers fans are sitting here, we lost Jordan Love. We lost Micah Parsons. Yeah. Guess what? You can still win when that happens, and we have proof this year. There is nobody that, if they suffered the injuries that the 49ers have suffered this year, would be clinched a playoff spot at this point in the year. There is nobody. Kyle Shanahan should absolutely be Coach of the Year.
I know what the argument is for Kyle Shanahan. I don't personally disagree with it. I'm just saying that there is still a very real possibility that he doesn't end up winning it, because there's a very real possibility that not only do the Bears beat the 49ers head to head, but the Bears end up finishing a game or two ahead of the 49ers and having the number 1 seed.
So what? Just because you get the number 1 seed doesn't mean you were the coach of the year. That's not how it works. It's not get the 1 seed, automatically win coach of the year.
No, but when you go from not in the playoffs all the way to the number 1 seed, you should get coach of the year. They're about the only person I can think of that had that happen and they didn't get coach of the year is Kyle freaking Shanahan, because they gave it to Brian Daboll.
That's what I mean.
He made a 10-win Giants team. We're so bad, the 10 wins gets us coach of the year. Never mind the guy that missed the playoffs in the first 2 years of coaching and then goes on and dominates the league on en route to the number 1 seed.
Astro says coach of the year is about optics and PR. Ben Johnson has the media attention. You're right, Astro. Vish said the same thing. Like, Ben Johnson does all this crazy stuff in the locker room after the game, and his team is all fired up, obviously. Kyle never does that. Kyle's just like, great job, guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Like, Kyle does not, that's just not his style. I do think that's a factor when it comes down to awards like coach of the year.
I think it's a factor, but keep in mind what the lasting image will likely be if the 49ers get the 1 seed. It would be the Niners are almost, if that game is for the number 1 seed, Seattle 49ers, it is going to be, there's potential that it could be the Saturday night game because they do have a Saturday night game, but most likely it would be the Sunday night game. It would be the cap on the regular season.
Yep.
So that would be, in the case that the Niners get the number 1 seed, the last thing voters see would be basically watching the opus of Kyle Shanahan, right? Because that game's going to be talking about they had all these injuries, and yet here they are in the running for the number 1 seed. And then if they win it, it's going to be about how crazy is this team getting the number 1 seed? Is this the unlikeliest number 1 seed of all time? And that'll be the last thing they see before they cast votes, essentially, because the votes, I think, are cast before playoffs start.
Can you imagine, too? I don't even want to say it out loud, but if for some reason Mac Jones had to play in that final game and the Niners still found a way to win, like, lock it up. That would absolutely clinch it. We could be in store for so much more. Think about how fun and crazy this year has been, and think about how much more fun could be coming, right? If they beat the Colts on Monday, then you're like, oh my God, we got the Bears. And if they beat the Colts on Monday, it's like playoffs begin. It's going to be wild. They play on Sunday Night Football against Chicago. And then, like you said, that Seattle game will likely be prime time.
Yeah. I mean, if the Niners lose, it may not be the prime time. Even though it would still be for the number 1 seed, because Seattle would still probably need to win it to lock up the 1 seed. But it may not get there. I could see in that scenario them saying, okay, we want this to be prime time, but we're going to pick a different game to be the cap on the season, because there are some other divisional games that could be huge in the final week, like the Panthers and the Bucks play each other in the final week. I could see that being the Sunday night cap. I think that's the more likely Saturday night cap, because that's the game of, this decides a division title, but it's 2 nearly 500 teams, so it's not as likely to be a marquee watch. Plus, Sunday night is a weeknight. You have work the next day, so why not have West Coast teams beat a late game? More likely to get ratings.
Bucks and Panthers, but the Niners are a national brand. I maintain it. People don't give them enough credit. They are a national team. When you have the decade in the 80s that they had, and then you had the consistent winning in the 90s plus a Super Bowl, like, you gain fans. Like, the Patriots are a national brand. When you have that sort of extended success, you build teams throughout the country. Niners are a national brand. Steelers are a national brand. Cowboys, Patriots, Chiefs, I think at this point, are a national brand because of what Mahomes has done. So if it comes down to it, they'll get that.
Us millennials or older can have a relationship to this, because it used to be in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was all the talk about how great the Packers fan base travels and how that's the craziest fan base in the NFL. Why? because they dominated in the 60s. So all those people in the 60s growing up, seeing football for the first time on TV and things like that, saw the Packers dominating. So they became, there were people not in Wisconsin that became Packer fans. And when they grew up in the late 90s, they came of age and had money to travel. So that's why they were such a great traveling team. The Niners are in that window now. You know, they're 30 years removed from that dominant 12-year run that set NFL records. So we're in that period of all those people like you and me. I don't know why. I can't remember why you became a Niner fan. I became a Niner fan in the 90s because I moved to a new school and I had friends that were Niners fans. And years later, I put together, oh, that was a Niners Super Bowl year, and that's why everybody was Niner fans. It was fair weathering. And I grew up in Indiana. So, like, I'm one of those fans that is a fan of the 49ers, not because of any true connection, but just because of their dominant stretch.
I became a Niner fan because I'm a jerk, basically. My dad was a huge, crazy Giant fan, massive Giant fan. And he wanted me to be a Giant fan. And I remember asking him, like, do I have to be a Giants fan? And he said reluctantly, no. And I was like, I can pick any team. And he was like, yeah, you can, but we live in Connecticut. You probably want to pick the Giants or the Bills or the Patriots or the Jets, like a team that's the closest teams to us. And I was like, well, why? I can pick any team I want, right? And he said, yeah. So I was like, well, all right. I picked the 49ers then. And that was it. That's how I became a 49er fan. And I've been riding with them since I was 6 years old, 34 years ago. That's how it came to be.
I became a fan of my fandom of sports teams does not come from other than Purdue. Oh, this is just the team you're supposed to like. I rejected, and I mean, it's a core thing to me. If you tell me, hey, this is the way you got to be, I will buck that and say, I'm going to do the opposite of that. But I became a fan of teams because I latched onto a single player. And then when that player retired, I don't change teams. So, I've kind of given up my Rockets fandom in the NBA, but it was Charles Barkley. So I was a Suns fan. When he got traded, I went to the Rockets. He retired from the Rockets, so I stayed with the Rockets. In the NFL, I explained I had friends that were fans of the Niners that changed me, but I very quickly latched on to Steve Young. And even though I changed schools a year later, that's what kept me with the Niners was Steve Young. And by the time he retired, I was old enough. I wasn't changing teams. Baseball, that one's a little bit out of spite. It was the 1998 home run race. I grew up in a family of Cardinal fans, but I liked Sammy Sosa because I'd gone to some Cubs games with my grandparents and I'd seen him play. So I kind of rooted for the Cubs out of spite just to annoy my father. But also I loved Sammy Sosa and his hop. And, Sammy Sosa was like, for a kid, Sammy Sosa was everything you could hope for in a sports person because he was always smiling, always playing up to the camera and things like that. So like a lot of my sports fandom comes from individual players, not the team.
Who do you think feels the worst about the 49ers making the playoffs today? Because I have one person in mind that I think it is. Oh. And he's a coach in the NFC. And I'm saying this because of the history and because of how I saw this coach react on Thursday. And that should tell you who it is.
I mean, I'm trying to think who would be at the top of that list because I would have a different answer.
Mike says Brandon Ayuk. Well done, Mike.
Well, I was trying to think of a player that just left the team and is pissed we're doing well. Somebody like Deebo Samuel, but I don't feel like there's enough there. So I can't think of the NFC coach you're talking about, but after you tell me yours, I will tell you the AFC coach.
Cinnamon Kiss nails it. Sean McVay. Sean McVay cannot feel good that a team that beat his guys with a bunch of scraps. Tony Stark built this in a cave with scraps. He cannot feel good given the history between those two teams that his 49ers, his biggest rival, is now in the playoffs guaranteed. He can't stop them from playing in a playoff game. I think he did not like it. I think you could see the pressure getting to McVay on Thursday. He was as jacked up and as fired up as I have ever seen him on the sidelines, because I think he knows we have a Super Bowl team. The Rams absolutely could win the Super Bowl this year. He knows what he has, and I think the pressure he's feeling it. He was as jacked up as ever, and he cannot be happy that Kyle Shanahan, his daddy, is now in the playoffs and may get a chance to prevent him from getting his team back to the Super Bowl.
All right. Bring me back to McVay, because I have something I want to say on McVay. Okay. But I know of an AFC coach that is probably the person that would hold a grudge the strongest and be the most vindictive about it.
Oh, Mike McDaniel.
No, Jim Harbaugh is probably the maddest. The Niners are in the playoffs. I mean, yeah, you laugh because it doesn't really affect his team that the Niners in the playoffs, but I guarantee he hopes the Niners win 0 games every single season.
It's interesting. Did they clinch today?
The Chargers?
Yeah. Let me see.
I'm not sure if they clinched or not. I wasn't following the AFC games.
They have not clinched yet, apparently. So they have not, but they are 11-4. Congratulations, Chargers. Yeah, Jim says that everything is cool, and he did come back to the Niners when they celebrated that 2012 team. So I don't know, but like, I'm sure. Look, we're all a little petty, right? Like, we all have a little of that inside of us. You never want to see your ex too happy. You don't want anything bad to happen to them, but if they were doing a little worse than you, that'd be okay.
I mean, I'm somebody that, unless there's a sincere apology, I don't forgive like grievances. You know what I mean? I'm not somebody that moves on just because time has passed. I may care a little bit less, but when I see a person that has wronged me or something and they've never apologized or anything like that, it's like, oh yeah, that person.
Antonio, YouTube channel member, says, remember when Shanahan allegedly needed Debo to have a great offense? Those were good times.
I said Debo was a crutch for Shanahan. I think the crutch is removed.
Where are the fire Kyle Shanahan people now? Huh? There were a lot of 49er fans that wanted him fired after last year. He sucks. He's never going to win the Super Bowl. Name me another coach that could do what Kyle Shanahan did this year. Who's got the most dead cap money in the entire league by a mile this year? Oh, that's right. The San Francisco 49ers do. He lost his 2 best defensive players. He lost his quarterback, his wide receivers. Who else could have done what Kyle Shanahan did? And oh, by the way, he's in the toughest division in the sport. And yet he's clinched a playoff spot with 3 games to go. Where are the fire Kyle Shanahan people now?
Quiet, if not dead completely. Starving for sure.
Right. And they should be.
So let me circle back to McVay, because random thought, but I think it is an interesting debate and psychological entanglement inside each person. Let's just say the Niners will not win the Super Bowl. They will not make the Super Bowl. Okay. Who out of the NFC would you rather have win it? And I will put this out there. If McVay wins the Super Bowl this year, yes, that sucks. The Rams won a 2nd Super Bowl. However, I would all but guarantee McVay retires, and now the Rams have to find a head coach without falling. So, is it worth it?
So you're saying if the Niners get eliminated in the playoffs, you'll be rooting for Sean McVay?
I don't know. Like I said, it's a psychological kind of entanglement within myself. It's like, I don't want to deal with the Rams winning a 2nd one, but at the same time, if it gets McVay to retire, it's very, 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 very likely that they don't hire a coach as good as McVay, because McVay is one of the best of recent memory.
It's interesting for a couple reasons. If the Rams did win a Super Bowl, Stafford may be like, I'm out. Like, it's never getting any better.
Stafford definitely would, yeah.
That would be number 2 for him. Like, he may go. So that would be something, obviously, for the Rams to deal with. Now, they do have 2 first-round picks this year because the Atlanta Falcons are a bunch of idiots, and they traded their first-round pick. We know the Rams would be aggressive. So, like, that would be a whole other thing. I will never root for the Rams to win a Super Bowl, but there may be some upside for the 49ers if that happened. But we are a long way from that.
I did just think of a reason why I would say, oh, no, never mind. I'll never root for that. One, Jimmy Garoppolo would have a Super Bowl ring.
uh, multiple people in the chat have pointed out that the Super Bowl is in LA next year, so he probably would try to run it back one more time.
I think McVay is out if he wins the second one. And I think Stafford would but I would say very, very high likelihood. Oh, I win an MVP and I win my second Super Bowl. I clinch. I get a write off into the sunset at the highest of any high anybody's ever been able to write off into the sunset. And while I don't think he has any kind of strong argument whatsoever, winning his second ring with how high he's ranked on things and the fact that he's leaving as an MVP, he gets to like enter, okay, you're on the fringe of GOAT debate, even though there's no real debate because Brady's so far ahead. But, does he enter the debate with who's better between him and Peyton Manning? You know what I mean? They both have 2 Super Bowl. Right. I know, but he would have a legitimate debate. I retired as an MVP. I won 2 Super Bowls, same as you. I have about as many passing yards and all the other things that you can rack up, all that stuff. Like it puts him in a different level of argument. Put it that way.
100%. 2 Super Bowl wins. There are not many quarterbacks that have ever played that.
And an MVP because he doesn't have an MVP to date. And that's kind of those are the things that separate greatest of all time ranking lists, whatever. How many MVPs do you have and how many Super Bowls do you have? That's why Eli Manning has fallen so far in memory because he never won an MVP. He wasn't statistically dominant. He finished with as many interceptions as touchdowns, but he will make the Hall of Fame because he won 2 Super Bowls. So he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's in no argument. Like he's not even in the top 30, 40, maybe not even the top 50 quarterbacks of all time.
Right. Like if you said, I'll give you any Hall of Fame quarterback to start your team, there's 20 guys you're picking before he gets Eli Manning.
Yeah.
But people are pointing out too, Bryce Huff has a Super Bowl ring. Sky Moore has a Super Bowl ring, I believe. So the playoff experience is there across the 49ers. It's anybody's year, man. I have said since before the year started, get to the playoffs and anything can happen. The season begins anew, and we are there. As of tonight, December 21st, with 3 games to go, the 49ers are there. They lose every game the rest of the regular season. So what? We're still going to be watching a playoff game on Wild Card Weekend. That is a great place to be.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want them to lose 3 in a row, but
of course not.
It's nice to know that the playoffs are locked in. It's nice to know that the Niners are currently the 6th seed in the NFC, and with 3 games to go, the worst they can be is the 7th seed.
Right. And depending on who ends up with the number 1 seed, that might not be the worst place to be. I mean, we don't know who's going to end up with the number 1 seed.
You got the Eagles, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Bears, the 49ers realistically in the running. I think technically the Packers are not eliminated, but they would have to win out and all these other teams would have to lose pretty much everything. It's not happening. But there are 5 teams with legitimate chances at the number 1 seed.
And by the way, multiple people have correctly pointed out that Garoppolo already has 2 Super Bowl rings.
That's true. That's true.
He has 2 Super Bowl rings the way Steve Young has like 3 or 4, like
that's an interesting trivia question. What quarterback has the most Super Bowl rings where he was the backup?
Well, Steve got a couple, right?
Yeah. Steve got 2, I think, as a backup.
2, yeah, same as Jimmy.
Right. And in this scenario that they win one, he would have 3. Has anybody ever had more than 3 as a back? I can't imagine.
I mean, I don't know off the top of my head.
The backup for there's only so many teams that have won enough in a 15-year period where you could potentially have a backup the entire time. The Patriots didn't have the same backup long enough we already have Jimmy with 2 of them. You got the 49ers. I'm trying to think who the backup was for the Cowboys in the 90s, but I don't think it was the same one for all 3.
I think Earl Morrall has 3 as a backup, with 1 with the Colts and 2 with the Dolphins, although he played significant time in some of those games.
Yeah, I don't know that I would count the second one because he started a majority of the games that season.
True. But technically he was the backup quarterback. Yeah. But regardless, hopefully Mac Jones wins one as a backup quarterback this year. How about that? I mean, how about that? It's possible, man. I cannot believe that this is like a Christmas present. Just it changes how I'm going to watch the whole game Monday. It absolutely does. Like, do
Not
I
me.
want the 49ers to win? Of course I do. I want them to be
Yeah.
the number one seed because they wouldn't have to travel anymore. But if they lose, I can't be as mad because I know that they're going to the playoffs.
No, it does not change anything for me because the playoffs were already 98% likely. For the Niners to have missed the playoffs before the Lions lost, it was the Niners had to lose out, the Lions had to win out, and one of Green Bay or the Bears could not lose out as well. You know what I mean?
Get it. I get that it was
It was highly unlikely. So, like, playoffs have already been kind of booked in my mind. Yes, this makes it official, and that's awesome, but it doesn't change my viewing. My viewing has already been, well, we at least have playoffs, but God, I would love to have that one seed.
And I will say this too. The Lions, everybody thought, oh, the Lions are so good. Look out, Lions. They're going to be competing in the NFC forever. What did the Lions end up doing?
Yeah.
They got stomped by the Commanders. They blew the biggest lead in the history of the NFC Championship game, and now they have missed the playoffs. Like, people like to rag on Shanahan because, he loses NFC Championship games and he loses Super Bowl. It is so hard to even do what the 49ers did, let alone to win a championship. Where are the Lions right now? Who knows what they're going to be next year, right? They're in the friggin' wilderness.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, the Lions can turn it around, but
Maybe.
the NFL is littered with teams that were supposed to be this contender for years to come and disappeared.
And maybe the Lions will. Maybe they missed their chance. Dan Campbell said it after the game, right? We don't know if we'll ever get back here.
Yeah.
And then he loses his coordinators and they miss the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Bengals. Ooh, they made the Super Bowl with a young quarterback. They have these dominant wide receivers. They're going to be great. And what have they done since? They made the playoffs once and lost immediately. And they have 3 seasons now, I think, of missing the playoffs since, or is it 2? I don't remember.
Can't remember. Chosen asks a question: is this defense good enough to compete in the playoffs?
Doesn't matter. That's the answer to that question.
They are competing in the playoffs. Well, we won't have to speculate on that. We'll get to find out.
Well, I know what he's meaning. Is the defense good enough to compete in the playoffs? The thing with the 49ers is they will not go as the defense goes. They will go as the offense goes.
Yeah.
Is the defense good enough? No. They're not a championship level defense. They could give up 30 points in a game without that being out of the realm of my expectation, without it being surprising to me. The thing is, they might give up 30 points and the Niners score 40. That's the ticket to the playoffs. It's, can the offense put up and be unstoppable?
I was looking at this the other day. You have to do an imitation of the 2012 Ravens, right? The Ravens were not a great defensive team. They somehow gave up 9 points in the wild card round. Then in the divisional round against Peyton Manning and the Broncos, they gave up 35 points, but they won that game because they scored 38. And then in the championship game, they gave up 13 points to the Patriots, which is crazy. But then in the Super Bowl, they gave up 31 points. But guess what? They scored 34. How did they do it? Joe Flacco played out of his mind, and they got a special teams touchdown in the game. The 49ers can absolutely do that. That may be the way it goes. I think we build up this idea in our head that every Super Bowl champion was great and gave up 15 points a game and they scored 30 points a game. No, that's not how any of this works. The Niners are going to get into the playoffs and they are going to play a series of 1-game seasons. And whatever weird, wacky stuff happens in those games, whoever gets on the right end of that more is going to be the winner. We've already seen it this year. We saw it in that friggin' Lions-Steelers game with that crazy-ass last play. We saw it with the 2-point conversion on Thursday night. That's it. Like, you don't take anything away from teams that win like that. You win, period. And that's what we got to hope for the 49ers in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's no tarnish on any of those Giants Super Bowls where they were clearly not the better team in reality. They won on that day, and that's all that matters. But I do want to throw this out there because he is absolutely right. And the comment just bumped, so let me Jay Mahoney says the Lions aren't eliminated yet. Yes, that is actually true. The Niners clinch playoffs, but the Lions can still, if they win their last two and the Packers lose their last two, the Lions would be it.
Which, if Love is out, maybe that's more likely. We don't know. That's
It's not just Love is out, but Malik Willis also, he ended up coming back in that game, but he definitely injured his throwing shoulder. So does that be something that swells up, gets more painful after the game to where now he's a question mark as well?
Adam McGurk, YouTube channel member, thank you very much for $20 super chat. Appreciate that. Says, hey guys, thanks for doing the stream. I'm pumped and want someone to talk football with. Thanks for doing this. Thank you. Thank everybody here. There's almost 1,000 people here. If this is your first time checking us out, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. I promise you, you will like our 49ers coverage. We're live after every game, after all breaking news. We're live every single weekday. We do news updates too on the audio podcast side as well. Just search Gold Standard 49ers and we pop right up. We should be celebrating. This is a happy day. Whatever happens going forward, happens going forward. But today, we can celebrate and we can dream as big as we want to dream on December 21st. And I did not think that when Fred Warner's ankle was pointing in the wrong direction on the field earlier this year.
Yeah, I mean, I thought playoffs, they had a good chance of playoffs because of the schedule, but that's how I was framing it at the beginning of the season is if this team was playing a different schedule, I would not think they were going to make the playoffs. I did not think it was a good enough roster. I kind of still don't, but they keep winning, so I can't keep denying it. But, I mean, they're winning with guys that you go, would that guy start on any other team? He's only starting because the guys in front of him are hurt, so it seems unlikely, yet they keep winning. And it's not like the offense has completely carried them. The offense is carrying them now, recent weeks, because Purdy is back and they've kind of started to hit their stride finally of having their guys in there. But they're still middle of the pack in terms of points scored on the season. They're averaging, I think, 25 points per game. That's not great. It was just a couple weeks ago. I think they were 19th in the league at 23 points per game, and they've risen it in the last 3 weeks by scoring more points. So this is not a team that's just been all offense. The defense has had some wins as well. Now, lately, I think the defense is kind of gassed at this point. I think as more film has come out, it's pretty easy to see where the limitations are, and teams are figuring it out. But the defense has done their part this season, I would say.
They've held 2 of the last 3 opponents to single digits. That's pretty good. But I agree. The defense is clearly the weaker of the 2 units, in part because of the injuries. Filthy Casual Fan says, we'll know if the 49ers are real based on the last 3 games. Here's the thing. It's week 17 now or 16, whatever it is. Like, if you don't know who's real and who's not, then nobody is. Like, there is no, like, realness test that you have to pass. The 49ers could lose all 3 of these games in the regular season and still win the Super Bowl. One is not related to the other. So, like, you know, that's not how it works. You know, you can not know what to think about the 49ers or think they're frauds, and they could still win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of multiple teams that I thought there is no way they can win the Super Bowl when the playoffs started. The Baltimore Ravens, who beat the 49ers. I did not think there was a chance they would win the Super Bowl, and then Flacco had one of the greatest playoffs in NFL history. The Giants that took down the 17-0, in my opinion, if you make me pick the greatest team of all time in terms of I'm picking a team to win the game against your pick, I'm picking that Patriots team that the Giants beat. Like, those are 2 teams that had no business winning a Super Bowl. And if you're looking for a team that is completely terrible on one side of the one-dimensional, one side of the ball, they're just terrible. You got the Baltimore Ravens going and winning a Super Bowl with an offense that couldn't score a touchdown.
It was crazy, man. It's absolutely wild. We didn't even talk about DK Metcalf punching a fan today is a thing that happened.
Yeah, I don't see how he's not suspended. In my opinion, if you're putting somebody on administrative leave, to me, what he did is, 1, it's criminal, because if a fan punched a player from the stands, you guarantee there would be criminal assault charges filed. They did it with, like, the brawl at the Palace and things like that in the NBA. Criminal charges are usually filed for the fan punching somebody. That fan is where he belongs. He was in the stands. DK Metcalf is pulling his hair, which was a wig, clearly, pulling his hair to get him lower so he could punch him in the face. How is that not going to face criminal charges? To me, he should be going on administrative leave, and you're done until the cops decide what they want to do with you, and then we'll decide a suspension.
Not a good look for DK Metcalf by any stretch of the imagination. A couple more questions I want to get to before the end of the stream. What do we do with Ricky Pearsall now? Astro says Ricky needs to make it onto the field for the playoffs. That has to be your thinking for the 49ers, right? Like, yes, we would love to get the number 1 seed, of course, but he has to be on the field for the playoffs. Whatever you have to do, he has to be there. He makes such a difference in this offense. He makes them so much more effective. He's such a threat with his speed and against man coverage. Ricky Pearsall has to be their wild card weekend, and if that means he doesn't play again in the regular season, I am fine with that.
It all depends. Like, am I willing to play him at 90%? As long as the 1 seed is still in the running, yes. You will have a bye week. If the Niners lose to the Colts, then I think you shut them down. If the Niners win against the Colts and then they play the Bears and they lose, just shut them down for the Seahawks game, even if you played in the Bears game and made it through. You know what I mean? Like, it's once that scenario is eliminated, all right, now you shut them down and you shut down anybody else. Like, if the Niners lose to the Colts or the Bears to where the 1 seed is out, Christian McCaffrey, I would not be playing in the final game. Purdy, I would not be playing in the final game, because whether you're the 5, 6, or 7 seed is not important enough to me.
Yeah, because you need those guys there.
And that's why, like, if you want, this has been a week of watching other games and heavily rooting for somebody else in a game that doesn't feature the 49ers, right? We were all rooting for the Seahawks on Thursday to beat the Rams. We were all rooting for the Steelers to beat the Lions. All right, now it's time for us all to root for the Panthers, because if the Panthers win that game against the Seahawks, which the Panthers are at home for, it means the Seahawks cannot win the division, assuming the Rams take care of business. And that would mean if the Rams win next week and the Seahawks lose next week, going into the final week, the Seahawks cannot win the division. And if I was the Seahawks coach, I would start resting people. They have a scenario where they can literally gift the Niners the division title. Like, that's insane to me. That you have a scenario where the Seahawks could say, well, if we beat the Niners, the Rams get the division. If we lose to the Niners get the division, and the Niners get the 1 seed. And they go, we don't care. We're resting people.
There's a couple other points I want to get to, and we're going to do that in 1 second after this word from Sleeper.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using the code GSP. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
If you're just joining us, the San Francisco 49ers have punched their ticket to the playoffs thanks to the Detroit Lions losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers at home, by the way. Baziman says Niners need to do whatever they can to get the number 1 seed. Will give us extra rest time for our players, which we desperately need. Do they desperately need it? I mean, they just had a bye week.
I think that there's some people that are banged up. I don't know that they're the most desperate team, but all teams get a massive benefit, I think, from the bye week. And adding to it for the Niners this year, I think that if they get that bye week, there's a very good chance they do not have to play in the playoffs without Fred Warner.
That is crazy. And of course, if they get the bye week, they don't have to travel at all in the playoffs, which is, it's not nothing. It's not they could still win if they're on the road. In fact, the 49ers have been a very good road team this year, but it helps.
I wonder how they would play that during, the lead up to the game, right? Do the Niners stay in a hotel like you normally do for the Super Bowl? Or do you treat it like a regular home game and they don't?
No, I saw that they would not. Now, I don't know if you can put in a special crest if you're actually hosting, But as it stands right now, Levi's is not supposed to be like used by either team in the week before the Super Bowl.
Oh
Both
yeah, so they
teams
can't use their own practice facility.
Right.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
That's at least what it's slated right now. Now I don't know if the Niners.
I mean, that makes sense because I do think that would be too much of an advantage.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't remember what the Buccaneers did when they won it with Brady in 2020. I think they were the first team to get to the Super Bowl when it was in their own stadium. I can't remember.
I haven't looked it up. Who's the home team?
Oh, actually,
because that alternates. So if it's the AFC, the Niners would have to be in their own visiting locker room.
That would be weird. How do they even designate that?
I think it alternates year to year.
Super Bowl LX home team.
Because it used to be whoever was the best.
It's the NFC.
So the Niners already have a pretty heavy advantage getting to be in their own locker room, their own stadium. It's not a advantage of home team because the fans for Super Bowl are general fans. It's not going to be heavy 49ers home game fans in reality. I mean, there might be a little bit because, I mean, yes, the 49ers are one of the wealthiest fan bases, I would say. But not a huge advantage. It won't be the same as a home game. But I understand that they say no team gets the 49ers practice facility because you got to think of it as the 49ers, yes, they get in an advantage, obviously, because it's their own practice facility, but any team that gets to utilize that gets an advantage because it's the highest quality practice facility. It would not be equivalent to whatever the other team gets to use.
Hey, you know what? After the league gave the 49ers that friggin' squishy field,
I know.
In the Super Bowl last time, they better get their own damn field.
I'm guessing it's Stanford and some other college team.
I can't remember where it is, but I remember seeing that it was like, oh nope, it's not going to be Levi's.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense.
But again, I don't know. You know, can you say like, hey, now that we're here, can we just? Who knows? And the league would probably say no because I agree. Like they're trying, they don't want it to be an advantage. Even though it will be naturally because that's the 49ers home field. So there's going to be some sort of advantage. But I agree that I don't think the league will mess with that too much.
No, because you know their opponent would say, nope, we do not approve.
Yeah. I can't believe we're thinking about the Super Bowl. I cannot believe it. But we're here. We are here now. We are in the playoffs. The only thing we're going to be doing now is shuffling the seating. And now let me ask you this. If you're Kyle Shanahan, do you know, maybe you don't throw the kitchen sink at the Colts or the Bears or the Seahawks at the end of the year. Maybe you kind of tone it down a little bit here because the playoffs are locked.
As long as the one seed is in play, you keep going. I think you send the wrong message, especially in terms of momentum, to say, hey, the one seed's in play, but we're going to hold back, but still win the game. We want you guys giving 100%, but us as coaches, we're going to hold back even though the one seed is in play.
Yeah.
No.
That's fair. I wouldn't hate it if they did.
I would go all, unless they somehow went out anyways and we never knew. No, you don't hold back.
Do you think that somewhere, wherever he is right now, Fred Warner has texted Kyle Shanahan, you get the one seed and I'll be back for the first playoff game?
I would be surprised if that wasn't sent weeks ago.
Oh my God.
As soon as the cast went off and he took the first step without it, he was like, yep, I'm good. I ran on this and I'm good. I'm sure the text messages or the meeting started of, look, this is when I think I can be back in the playoffs.
When you hear him talk about the rehab and the injury, and now he's, you know, there's no scooter or crutches or anything. He's 10 toes down, as he says. It certainly seems like he's going to try, and we're going to, hopefully the Niners give him every opportunity. They took the first step today by clinching, by doing nothing, which is the best way to clinch, by the way. Obviously, we'll play the game Monday.
I have no interest in a storyline of all the Niners have to do is win their wild card game and Fred Warner will return. Oops, they lost.
Yeah,
we're never gonna, you know, like that would be like the ultimate gut punch to the end of the season of, yeah, I didn't expect them to make the playoffs, but they did, and we were going to get Fred Warner back, and it was known, and then they couldn't win the one game they had to.
You put Fred Warner back out on that field, that may be the difference between the defense being bad to the defense being mid. And if the defense is mid,
yeah,
and the offense plays well, you can absolutely win the Super Bowl.
Well, I think it changes dramatically the secondary because of Fred Warner's coverage abilities.
Yes.
And so it frees up that defense. And I think it frees up the safeties in particular because they've been having one safety kind of come down a lot in their zones to help out. And I don't think you need that with Fred Warner. So I think it frees you up to play more of the defense that you want. As has been widely reported, the Niners have been playing a lot more zone this year than normal. It's because they just don't. That's what you do when you don't have the guys. When you don't have the guys that can match up in man coverage, you go to a zone. With Fred Warner, I could see them maybe flipping the script and going back to man, which would probably throw their opponents for a loop because it's not what they've been playing.
And as Bazzyman says, all we need is an opportunistic defense. It doesn't necessarily need to be good. That's right. When they throw you the ball, catch it. When they put the ball on the ground, jump on it. Don't try and pick it up Ray McCloud style. No. Just fall on it. We'll do the rest. Get the ball back in the hands of your offense. That is your job as a defender on this team. Whether it comes after an 89-yard drive when you stop them on the 1-yard line or whether it comes faster than that, doesn't matter. But that is your job for this defense. Get stops by any means necessary, and you have to take advantage of your turnover opportunities because the next play could be a 70-yard touchdown that you give up.
Yeah, I mean, the formula for the 49ers without Fred Warner is defense make a few stops. You make a few, then the offense should be able to win the game.
What have I said? I said the 49ers need 5 T's, whether it's 5 touchdowns, whether it's 2 touchdowns and 3 turnovers, or 3 touchdowns and 2 turnovers, or 4 touchdowns and 1 turnover. 5 T's is the key to victory for this team. And we'll see how many they get going forward. But how much fun is it going to be to find out? And we're going to do it together here, and we'll do it on the Gold Standard Podcast Network as well. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. Please, again, like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're live every single weekday. We're live after breaking news. We're live after every game. We'll be here tomorrow night immediately after the game is over. Please join us for that. We appreciate everybody, all our YouTube channel members, all the comments, super chats, and otherwise. We appreciate all of it. I could not do this without you, and I could not do it without you, Levin, as well. Thank you. Celebrate the rest of the night, and go damn Niners to the playoffs.